So I was listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast for the first time in a long time yesterday, and John Batiste was on his show. He's a 4-time Grammy winner, and he said, I'm paraphrasing, how you respond to calamity is what will create your character, will lead to your highest version. And I couldn't agree more. It's a lesson I've learned so many times throughout my life, but a lot of people lack that perspective on calamity, on when everything goes wrong. Now, things in life are always going to be difficult. So there's always suffering in one form of another through life. But a lot of people just see the opportunities to grow as things that they voluntarily decide to put themselves through that are difficult. So, for example, running in the morning, which I've been doing, hill sprints. It's hard. I'm panting so much. It feels like my body wants to stop and give up. But mentally, I'm thinking to myself, we got one more in the tank. We got one more hill sprint in the tank. And you push through that mental barrier, the part of yourself that wants you to give up, that wants you to stop, to build up this tolerance or program yourself to essentially understand that this is just your mind trying to speak to you and keep you in a place of comfortableness and familiarity. And when you break through that enough times, you can eventually get to the point where breaking through it the 100th time or the 200th time or the 1,000th time is simple. And that's one of the great joys of doing things that are difficult, is the fact that you develop this tolerance to pain and suffering and displeasure. But you are the one that's voluntarily deciding to put yourself through that thing. It's really the word he used in that podcast, calamity. Calamity is when things go wrong and you could not control it and it's completely unexpected. How you respond to the unexpected issues, I think that's what defines you more than the difficult things you voluntarily put yourself through. Because voluntarily putting yourself through, it's something you're controlling. It's something you're deciding to go through. And you definitely get a lot of benefit from doing those things, from voluntarily putting yourself through difficult situations and pushing through that mental blockage that is telling you to stop or is saying, maybe you should just stay here, stay comfortable, not take any risks, not put your body through something that will lead to growth because I want you to stay safe. There is obviously utility in that. And I actually think that that helps you deal with the unexpected, the calamity a lot more. But at the end of the day, the calamity is going to test you no matter what. The unexpected is where your character is going to be tested the most. I have so many instances of calamity happening in my life where the biggest one, I suppose, was my girlfriend breaking up with me during COVID, which I've talked about a million times on the main channel. It really was my make or break moment, something I could not control. The pandemic, I could not control. My girlfriend leaving me, well, you could argue I could have controlled that. I could have done a better job in the relationship. After that point, though, everything's out of my control, and it's like, what are you going to do about it? That's what life is. It's giving you a challenge, and it's asking you, well, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to choose to respond to this? And if you see that moment, those instances in life, as an opportunity for you to come out of this thing a much stronger, more developed, more mentally tough, but also have higher mental clarity. Because then after the fact, if you do get through it, you realize how much you can take on. Then you are going to be miles ahead of the people who view unexpected bad things that happen to them, these sufferings that are inevitable, as this should have never happened. This is what's ruined my life. The thing that was outside of my control. If you take full ownership, full responsibility of those moments where life provides as a positive connotation, provides you with a calamity, and you do something positive with that, you decide, well, fuck you. I'm going to rebel against this. And this is what a lot of philosophers like Nietzsche and Albert Camus suggest, is to rebel against life. Rebel against the fact that it is going to give you moments that it basically wants you to give up. Because life is fucking difficult. It's difficult for everybody. But in that moment, you have the chance. That is where your character, your personality, and you're going to figure out how much you're actually capable of will happen. And then every other more calming instance of your life you'll feel more grateful for them. You'll feel more fulfilling, and you'll feel more at peace. Now, there are limits to this, of course. People go through such high intensities of unexpected calamities, such as those who go to war, or those who are not yet taught these things about unexpected bad things happening to them, leading it to growth and seeing the perspective of this could help me in some way. For those people who go through too many unexpected things in too little time, well, that's when trauma starts to develop. That's when it psychologically, physiologically changes you, potentially forever if you never understand the necessary steps to heal trauma. So there is a limit to this, of course. And I'm not saying all calamities that happen, oh, it's always a good thing, just look at everything positively. No, I mean, you can't do that. If happiness was a choice, then everyone would be happy. Though you could make the argument that people secretly don't want to be happy. And I think that's a whole nother video in and of itself. I think we want a little bit of struggle. All of us do. Some sort of thing that pushes a bit of stress onto us, that lets us know we're alive and that we can grow. But for most of you guys, most of your experiences that are unexpected, that happen out of nowhere, and you think it's the worst thing that it could ever happen to you, and there's nothing positive that could possibly be extracted from this situation, I swear there is. I'll give you another example. The story of when I tried to go to Buffalo last year. Unbelievable amount of crap happened to me. So my girlfriend at the time, now fiance, was in her hometown, and she was going to fly from her hometown to Buffalo and meet me there. And I was going to fly from Austin, where we live, because she was already in her hometown. So she got to Buffalo before me. The trek I went on, first flight to Atlanta, pretty smooth. Second flight, I'm waiting in Atlanta, gets delayed again. I'm getting really frustrated, gets delayed again. And then eventually they say, oh, something's wrong with the plane. Canceled completely. I had to stay overnight in Atlanta. I wanted to get to Buffalo as soon as possible because my girlfriend's already there. She's never met my family. She's waiting in the Airbnb by herself. It's like, bro, I want to see my family. I want to see my friends. I want to see my girlfriend. So I'm like, okay, Delta gave me a free flight for the next day, but I want to get one even earlier. I'm willing to pay for it. I'll get one at 7 a.m. I'll wake up mad early. So I do that. I pay for it, wake up at 5 a.m. I'm thinking I got plenty of time. Plenty of time. I'm controlling this situation, not the other way around. I get to the airport. Apparently at 5 a.m. airports are crowded as hell. It was packed in the security line, and it took forever to get through. I'm looking at my watch, like, okay, am I actually going to get there in time? I don't know how big the Atlanta airport is either. So when I'm done with the security line, I have to take like a train to another terminal. I'm dashing. I'm making a mad dash. It's 5 a.m. I'm sweating, panting over to my gate. I missed the gate by a few minutes. Catastrophe, calamity for me, for sure. So I'm in the airport sweating, panting, realizing I just missed the flight that I paid for when I could have just taken the flight that Delta had given me for free. And now I'm going to have to buy another flight out of here. So I take a nap on the floor of the airport for a couple hours, wait around for my next flight. My next flight, the only flight I could get, was another connecting flight. Not even going to get to Buffalo. We're going to go to Washington. We get in the plane. I'm thinking, okay, I've seen the worst. As we're pulling out of the tarmac, they say something's wrong. They say the weather's bad. We're waiting on the tarmac, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm probably going to miss my connecting flight to Buffalo. I'm never going to get there. I have so much anxiety in this moment. So many things that I couldn't control were happening to me. Finally, we take off. And again, I'm like, when I get to the airport, it's probably going to be so close for me to make this next flight. We get off. It's another one of those airports where you got to take like a trolley or some shit to another terminal. So I had to do that. I run back over to the terminal, the gate, and I missed the flight again. I'm stuck in another airport for a few hours, and I had to buy another. Oh no, I didn't have to buy that one because it was delayed. They gave me a free flight for later in that day, another 2-hour nap in the airport. And finally, that flight gets to Buffalo. One of the most like painful 48 hours of travel. It was absolutely the worst travel experience of my life. But because of that, because I went through that, every other travel experience in the future, hopefully, but I'm almost guaranteed, will be nothing to me. Any delay, even if it's a whole day delay, if my flight gets canceled, my tolerance for what I can handle at the airport now, because I reflected on that situation and I thought to myself, this is something I wish I wouldn't have gone through, but it certainly taught me a lot about patience and the importance of time management in airports too. Because I reflected on that experience and I learned a bunch from it. And I said, yeah, I went through some suffering there, but that suffering did not crack me. It cracked me. And then I put the pieces back together of myself, and they molded me into something even greater than I thought I was capable of. And that's the calamity. The calamity creates your character. And that was one of my biggest moments for creating a character that can handle any issues with flying now. Some part of you has the ability to reach its hand down to you and pull you out. And that's the part of you that's going to be created once you let this calamity condition you and you reflect on the experience and you willingly decide to take on the suffering, you take it on the chin, and you let this define how you're going to grow instead of define how you have the shittiest life ever. In that moment, it's a matter of what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?